What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bull Chat with Randy Paddock. I'm Randy Paddock. This is episode number 45. So, before we kick things off, just a little shameless promotion. So, a couple of things with the podcast. So, remember, we do this all for free. All the content's for free, but I also have other content available. Or if you just want to support the old podcast, you can become a patron. So, you can go to patreon.com/BULLCHAT. That's Bullchat. And you can donate to the podcast, right? To help keep this thing going. But not only that, to get some better shit, to make it even better. So if you like the content, feel free to do that. I also, I put up specific to that site content. So once a month, a different blog post. I'm going to probably up that as well, and some other goodies. So check that out. Again, it's patreon.com/bullchat, or if you follow me on Instagram at RandyJPaddock, it is in my bio there. So enough of that. Let's talk about what is going on in this wild world. And I want to talk about today, unless you're living underground here, there's a panic going on because we have a new black plague that's wiping us out, right? The new COVID, however you say it, 19. COVID, I believe, coronavirus 19. So obviously that's what spawned my thought on this, because if you're paying attention to anything, via media, so if it's social media or print or television or radio or anything at all, you'll see that people are fucking freaking out, man. So there's a panic going on. So obviously I'm going to touch on that a little bit, where it comes into, this pandemic we have going on, but also how panic's not a new thing and how it's kind of around all the time, and how we can maybe combat that. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a panicked state. And I don't mean a state like the Soviet Union was a state. I mean a panicked state like my state of being. Like, it was funny, I was talking to one of my clients today just about people in general. So let's say we're on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 is fucking maxing and relaxing, chilling. 10's I'm about to kill somebody. With the way that things are going on, in 2020, it seems that people, when they're idling, just walking around, they're on like a 7. People are like walking around at a 7 at all times, right? See, you hear Leroy barking there? He's at a 7. He doesn't know what's going on. He's just barking. No, but for real though. So people are kind of walking around this higher level of anxiousness and anxiety and worry, and they're a lot more tight. And, maybe there's a correlation with, that's why there's more people that have quote-unquote anxiety issues or on pills or are dying younger or I'm stressed out, whatever. So why would you want that? I don't want that. I want to be walking around at like a 2, right? Like chilling, Because if people are walking around at a 7 already, put them in a more higher pressured situation, like driving during rush hour, they're going to be at a fucking 10 in a second, and that's how road rage and crazy stuff happens, right? Or how anything happens. Or if they see something that they don't know and they start to panic, they're running around at a 10, and everyone's running around at a 10, nothing gets done. So that's what I've been thinking about with why we panic and panicking. And the number one reason why people panic is we're scared of the unknown. And I think, as much as I'm going to, talk about ironies within this coronavirus thing, or, things of that nature, I think it's, my take on this thing is that I don't think you should, I like to have a light heart about everything, but I think anything that kills people is serious and should be taken seriously, right? But I also think that mass hysteria is not the answer for a lot of things, and definitely not this. But I understand that when people are scared, they panic because they don't know what's going on. It's unknown, right? You're afraid of what you don't know. So when you see that there's a disease that's coming, and it's killing people, and it's shutting down everything, like that can be scary. So I get it. And when people freak out, their rational brain goes out the window. It's not, all right, let's take a breath, let's figure out what we can do. Their emotions kick in, and it's the end of the fucking world. I need to wipe my ass for the next 70 years, so let me get all the toilet paper, right? And it's not just with this pandemic going around, right? It's with everything. People fear what they don't know. And I'll touch on this later, but, in the news media, it was always fear of the black man, right? The unknown black man, because white America is scared of urban African American folks. So every time you turned on the news, it was fucking an unknown black man did X, Y, and Z, right? Post 9/11, fear of Muslims. Every Muslim is a terrorist, right? Post Me Too, every man's a rapist, right? Because you fear what you don't know and you don't understand completely. And if you don't take steps to understand it, you live in that fear. You don't have any rationality, and you go based off of emotion. And emotions can be great. Some of the greatest things, in culture are produced through emotion, right? Some great art, music, film, poems, things of that nature, but also some of the craziest things are out of emotion, right? Lorena Bobbitt cutting off her husband's cock, right? Remember that thing? Amy Fisher shooting Joey Buttafuoco in the face, or his wife in the face over that, right? Any sloppy divorce or anything ended up anyways, any crime of passion where someone died, right? So do we always want to run over emotions? Probably not. A pragmatic brain, I think, helps in some cases. But I understand if you're scared of what you don't know. So, and people get scared, like not only are you scared of the unknown, but when you're not ready, right? So there's a saying that I love, and it's, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. And I think that's always true. So why not always stay ready? Always have a backup plan. And the way I grew up, and maybe because good or bad, I don't know, but my granddaddy was a child of the Depression, so he saw like when the shit went down, and you truly had to like ration stuff. And a lot of people probably had grandparents like that, right? Have to ration stuff or really see what crazy things could happen. So he kind of always had a backup plan or some contingencies. And then my dad, being the kind of worry wart that he is, probably gotten from my grandfather, kind of the same way. He was kind of always ready for stuff and had plans and knew what to do. And I think there's something to that if you're always ready and you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, because you're in a panic. If all of a sudden an epidemic comes out and you're like, oh my God, I have not been washing my hands for the last forever years, I need to go get all the hand sanitizer and hand wash on the planet, clearly you weren't ready. It's the same thing when it's like, oh my God, summer's around the corner, and I got to fit into my trunks or my bikini, but I'm just fat right now. I better, get on a very unhealthy diet, find any 30-day cleanse, whatever to get rid of things so I'm ready. Well, if you just kind of paid attention to your fucking body that you get lucky enough to have, for your lifetime, and just kept it up to par, you would not have to freak out and get ready. So a lot of this panic is self-imposed, that if we just kind of paid more attention and stayed a little bit more ready, kind of took care of ourselves and our surroundings a little bit more on the day-to-day, as opposed to watching the newest episode of Peaky fucking Blinders, then maybe these mass panics don't happen. But maybe not. What the fuck do I know? So with this coronavirus and this new one, this 19, so remember, guys, I've been actually paying attention to this a little bit, but no way am I any sort of an expert. But there's like many different coronaviruses. This 19 is just the newest one. And so is it scary? Absolutely. As is any disease. There's been shit that's wiped out lots of populations, right? I mean, that's just history. So should we be frightened of these things? Yeah. I mean, it could be scary. Is it the end of the world? In my opinion, absolutely not. But I do think you have to just be mindful and pay attention of things. So I think that it's kind of funny, too, with this thing coming up. People act like it's Doomsday. This very much reminds me of Y2K. So in the year 2000, I was like 16 or something like that. And y'all remember Y2K, right? I believe the theory was that when the clock struck midnight in the year 2000, the world was fucked, right? It was going to be some two options. One, it turns into like Terminator 2 Judgment Day, some Skynet type shit, and Miles Bennett Dyson was right. And as soon as it strikes 12, the fucking machines take over because they don't know what year it is. They become self-aware, and we're all in deep, deep trouble. Or the other option was all the computers are just going to blow up or something, or shut off and not know what to do because they're going to think it's year 1900, and then or year zero or whatever they're going to think it is, and not know what to do. Planes are not going to know what to do and fly into stuff because there's no GPS, and then we're all going to be living in caves in a week. Well, this was always strange to me because there's like time zones, right? And places like that are around the world from America where like it was going to be 2000 before. Even if like you live on the Midwest like I do, like the East Coast was going to be before. So I always thought that was strange. Um, and lo and behold, nothing happened, right? But people were freaking out, and it was like Doomsday. It's the same kind of people like with this, right? They're prepping like it's Y2K, like they're gonna have to go live in a fucking bunker, like it's that Cloverfield Lane movie, right? They're running around getting all the water, toilet paper, and all that kind of shit. So it's like, again, something I can't really wrap my head around. Because it's like, I don't know. They're saying this number 2 weeks, right? Like because apparently you can walk around 2 weeks before you know you have it, or it takes 2 weeks to show symptoms or whatever. So everyone's like, I'm gonna let me do some fucking air quotes here, self quarantine myself for 2 weeks, right? But so people are talking about these self quarantines, right? But then I don't understand. So I have all my supplies. Apparently for the next 2 weeks, I'm just gonna be slugging water, eating SpaghettiOs, and fucking wiping my butt. But then what? Then you emerge in these 2 weeks, and it's like, dude, I quarantined myself. I drank all the water, wiped all the buttholes, and now I'm immune to this virus. Like, no, it doesn't just go away from the planet because you self-quarantine. So I never really understood that. And then it doesn't help, though, the media blows things up. So, that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand that with the media, it's like if it bleeds, it leads, right? If you turn on it, if it's not the coronavirus, it's something else, right? Anytime you turn on the fucking news, it's always about, especially here in Chicago, there's 12 murders, a couple of Catholic rape scandals, and a domestic abuse before anything good happened. So it's their job, and maybe it just says something to us as a culture, a society in general, that we're so, I don't want to say disillusioned, but like desensitized to anything that, like, if it's something that's not completely gory or earth shattering, like we lose our attention. So I understand that the media needs to blow everything like it's crazy out, right? Like, death toll, blah, 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 blah. And then like, it doesn't show you real facts until the end of the story. So again, it's not like it's untrue, but you know how it goes, right? And then it's a problem because then that helps create panic because people are sheep for the most part, and monkey see, monkey do. So they see what's going on TV and people go nuts. So they figure, oh, I got to go nuts. And here we go. And I understand, especially from a pandemic point of view, why that's problems and problematic, because now everyone that has a sniffle is running to get checked out, right? I need to get checked out, I need to get checked out. And then unfortunately, the real world doesn't stop. So now you have all these health officials that are getting overworked that also have to pay attention to people that might not be showing symptoms but are hypochondriacs and freaking out. And then that takes them away from like maybe someone that's having a heart attack, or someone that's stroking out, or someone that's having seizures, or someone that really needs the help. Or it's people going in and taking up beds that people that really need them could use. And I think that's where the big problem is, and that's where the media should be held accountable. Will they ever? Absolutely fucking not. But it's that. If you have the symptoms, right, know what the symptoms are, then absolutely go get checked out. Fucking that's your right, that's you. Sure, you don't have to just, tough it out, right? This fucking thing kills people. So if you have the symptoms, I think that you should get checked out, yes. But if you're just like, I don't know, better be safe than sorry, and then everyone does that, I think that's kind of bullshit. And I think the media is bullshit for doing that as well. And then so everything has to get canceled. And I get it. Is it fair? No. But everything's nuanced. Everything's not black and white, okay? And unfortunately, every motherfucker wants it to be. It's this or that. It's this or that. It's my way or the other. Fuck off, all right? So I understand. So some big things that got canceled. Obviously, sports, right? The biggest thing, the NBA season, which is nuts, March Madness. And think about those fucking the people that get impacted just from that, from like all the people that work in the arenas, right, or have the small. I don't give a fuck about the athletes or the coaches that make millions of dollars, or even if you make league minimum 250 or whatever K that it is, you're going to be just fine. It's the people that are working those hourly jobs that get fucked. I know that Mark Cuban and some others are coming together to help them, so that's awesome. But that's the victims here. Okay, the Arnold, right? I'm in the fitness industry. The Arnold Expo is like the biggest, fitness expo of the year, and a lot of small businesses depend on it. And 2 days before it was supposed to go down, it got canceled. So all these people get kind of fucked. It sucks. Small businesses are going to take a hit. Right? St. Patty's Day got canceled here in Chicago. That's like a huge fucking deal. They're not even dying in the river, which again, I don't understand 100%. Like, yeah, you want people to watch it, but what does one have to do with the other? Right? The river being dyed is a tradition. It's tradish. Right? So like, why, just because, like, why would you not dye it? They're like, well, we could postpone it. Well, St. Patrick's Day, I mean, I could be wrong because people that will have any excuse to fucking day drink and get hammered, so I get it. But like, St. Patrick's Day, I'm like, April 15th or April like 27th or something, like in Dye in the River Green, like, yeah, I know what you're trying to do. It doesn't matter. Like, the ship has sailed, right? So yeah, I definitely understand these things, and that, if you can avoid having a shit ton of people in the same spot, then avoid it. It's better to be safe than sorry. I definitely understand that. It's just kind of nuts to me, right? And here's the thing, though, is like, I don't, like, people all of a sudden are like amazed these things happen. Like, people are fucking gross, right? Like, it's just what we are. And like, these kind of things will come up. So they were saying like, and again, a lot of us, especially living here in the good old US of A, we're pretty comfortable. We don't know how other cultures live, or what it's like around the world in a lot of places. So these things happen in China a lot, right? Because there's billion people all on top of each other, right? And they don't have the kind of like food and shit access to things we do. So they have these like wet markets that, have a lot of live animals and things in there, and they eat all kinds of different animals, as do a lot of places around the world, right? It's not just cows, chicken, and pigs. Like, they'll eat fucking whatever, right? Because they have to. So they'll have all these animals around them, like, they kind of give each other shit, and then you put it together, like, it's probably the closest to being in New York in terms of like mass amount of people just like all up on each other, and then you get just shit floating around because people are disgusting, right? It's kind of funny that this thing is like all the hand soap and sanitizer washes out. It's like, for real though, like, you should be washing your hands, you should be washing your face, your body, your hair, like, just being clean, but most of us don't. We're fucking gross. You know what I mean? I, for one, like, if I'm at the house and I take a piss, like, I don't wash my hands, right? I don't really think about it, I even, as a young man, would go to the extent of faking it out, right? Like, putting the water around, pretending I was running it so I wouldn't get judged in public. But I'm an idiot because it's like, well, you could have just washed it if you're already faking it, right? So I've been definitely washing my hands after everything now. And now I've realized I need to carry moisturizer because my fucking hands are cracking all over the place. But, that's one good thing from it, is understanding that, yes, I'm talking to you. If you're a human being, you're fucking gross and you do something gross, and don't pretend that you don't. So we could all use a little help being more hygienic, right? You'd probably skip the shower, picked your ass, picked your nose, put your fucking finger in your mouth after it was somewhere weird. I mean, shit, you do it without even thinking about it. I'm at like a gym, right? Gyms are gross, and I'll like put the dumbbell down, then I'll like fucking like, I don't know, rub my face or something. I don't even think about it. Pretty disgusting. We all do stuff like that. So understand that people are gross until we're not gross. Things are going to come up. So if you understand that things can come up in this world, when they do, you're not going to freak out and panic because you understand how the world works, and like, oh yeah, there's a shit ton of people on this planet, and germs just kind of go everywhere, and we're very global, and people travel everywhere, so shit might come up. So I should probably be a little bit more clean, and when things come up, I should not panic as much. And I think about it too, like, yes, technically this thing is, it's a pandemic, right? So an epidemic's when it's like a local population. A pandemic's when it goes worldwide, and this got classified a pandemic, which it is because people all around the world do have this, correct? Sorry, a little sip of coffee there. But I mean, again, I don't want to shit on this thing because it's early, and who knows, what the stats are going to end up being. Hopefully, we were able to figure this thing out, and it doesn't go to where like some of those like smallpox or like polio or like some of those diseases that really took people out. Hopefully, we don't get there. Hopefully we can contain this. And I hope we will. I think we will. But um, it's not on that level of those real pandemics, and I don't think we've really experienced that kind of stuff. Like the Black Plague, right? Fucking smallpox, like the Spanish flu of 1812. Like these are measles, right? Like that shit that fucking like wipes out fucking populations. You know what I mean? Like yes, any death is tragic. Yes, thousands of deaths very tragic. Like this shit was like whopping like I don't know, man. I was encouraging people. I made a post about this. Like, if you're on your self quarantine or while you have some free time, read some fucking books about history, right? So, Native Americans, their immune system, and things like that, they weren't used to diseases that like Spanish folks brought over, i.e., like smallpox. And that shit like decimated populations of native tribes. Like, that's fucking crazy. Like a crazy pandemic, right? Like think about this. In the 80s or 90s, if you got HIV, you were fucking dead. Right? Like and if you're not aware of this, you know what I mean, or don't care to, like look like things that the gay community went through in like the 80s and 90s and things like that. There was like or watch like fucking Philadelphia and the band played on and stuff like that. Like if you were diagnosed with HIV, you were fucked. Like that's crazy, and that is not that long ago, right? And the cool thing is that there's nothing cool about that, but science catches up, and we could fix things, right? If we're paying attention and not panicking. We have vaccinations for shit like the measles. That's I don't know. Fuck anti-vax people, right? They're probably the same people that are demanding that schools get shut down because there's this thing going on, and they're the first ones running out and buying, all the toilet paper and all the water, right? But they'll let their kid run around and sneeze measles onto people, right? Fuck off, okay? We have vaccinations to help from these things. They have shit with AIDS now and HIV that like they have this thing called PrEP that people could take that helps protect you from even getting it. But now, with the medicine that they have, it could bring your count down so low that you can't pass anymore. Like it's not transferable. That's fucking awesome. That like, and a lot of us probably don't think about that because if you're not in the LGBTQ community, like your risk of getting it wasn't as big, especially gay men. But like going from something like 30 years ago or something that was like a fucking death sentence to like it can be untransferred now, like that's super cool, and that's what like we can do, right? People that don't believe in science and medicine and it's all big business and this and that, and fuck, I mean, whatever. I have an open mind. Eastern medicine's cool and things like that, but so is this badass shit, right? So if we don't panic and go nuts, we can figure these things out. If people are reporting things, if everyone's getting vaccinated and it's not starting and stirring these things up again. Because, when it comes down to it, there's lots of things killing people every day that we don't address. And hopefully this tragedy brings about change. Because unfortunately, it usually takes a tragedy to open up social discourse and to bring about change. But, I saw these stats are probably a little off now, and so don't quote me on them directly, but I saw like one of the great things about this is all the memes that are out there. But, I saw something that was like on the worst day of this epidemic, when it wasn't an epidemic before, it was a pandemic, like 127 people died or something. It said like on the same day, 5,000 people died of cancer, like whatever 1,000 people died of diabetes, whatever, premature deaths of infants, 10 times that amount killed themselves with suicide, and that's true. These things don't really get addressed all that much, right? Mental health, it's just take a pill. There was another good meme, and maybe my favorite. It says, the coronavirus kills 3,000 people and we lose our mind, while obesity kills 300,000 people annually or some number like that, and we make a new flavored Dorito. And it's funny and it's true. Is that, especially with these diseases, right? You're bigger, you're obese, your immune system's going to be more compromised, you're more susceptible to getting these things, right? But like, we're in this day and age where like it's cool. It's like it's wrong to call people out for being out of shape, right? Because it's like, well, they just love their body. It's self-love. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't make it healthy. You can like how you look. That's fine, right? But don't be preaching that that's a way to be, that it's okay to love yourself. It's not okay to preach not being healthy, right? So it's like, so we don't care that we're a fat fucking country, that has crazy amounts of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, these things that are related to obesity. And it's like, well, it's good because Lizzo's new song's out and she's telling me I should love myself, right? Well, it's all gonna be fun and games till she drops fucking dead of a heart attack. Really hope that doesn't happen, but is it possible? Yeah. And again, I'm not quote unquote fat shaming people, but I am health shaming people, right? You owe it to yourself and to everybody around to be as healthy as you can, right? So, but again, what do I know? So we're working on these preventive things, these self-quarantines, whatever. Everyone has these fake numbers, I get it. But hopefully, again, this brings some bigger issues, So maybe healthcare issues, right? Obviously this country's not known for its great healthcare and its situation. Fuck, dude, I'm balls deep in my situation, like where the amount of money I make and what I do, like I kind of get screwed. Obamacare doesn't help me, and my premiums I have to pay are kind of expensive compared to like what I live off of, right? So like I'm in the middle of things that suck, right? So maybe we could figure that out, or how many people don't have proper health care that may be carrying things, but they can't go get checked out because they don't have the proper health care, or they are forced to have to go to work, right? It's easy for the people to say, well, you should, what's this, another fucking word they have, like socially distance, right? All these people make up these stupid fucking words that sound smart. I'm socially distancing myself. Fuck off. You're a pussy, right? It's easy to socially distance yourself when you have a nice cushy job where you're allowed to work from home, but some motherfuckers can't do that, right? So what are they going to do, right? And that's a problem. So you can't get the health care that you want, and then because if you're sick, you don't have anything to cover it, and then you have to go to work anyway. So there's bigger issues here. And maybe it'll bring up anti-vax stuff like I alluded to earlier, right? I'm biased on it. I think that everyone should get vaccinated. Again, it's your own lives. But at the end of the day, I think the argument of it's my child, it's my right, it's ours, whatever, when it comes to things that can create death for others, that's not their fault, that's your fault, like that ain't your thing, you know what I mean? Or you should be, you should have to fucking be accountable for it, right? It's like, all right, cool. I sign up to not vaccinate my child. However, if I don't get sick from this, I'm footing all the bills because I made that choice for the other people. So hopefully, unfortunately, but hopefully a global pandemic makes people rethink that shit. Like, oh yeah, maybe we should take these things so we don't have these crazy panic nuts times every fucking time something new comes out because something new come out again. And then hopefully it brings to light a little bit more about globalization, and that no matter what fucking race, no matter what fucking gender, sexual orientation, whatever the hell you are, we are all humans. We are all on the same planet. That is planet Earth. We are all connected, and shit can reach you anywhere. So we need to start being better about that and being a little bit more, I guess, enlightened on a global scale, like knowing what's going on in the world, knowing that, me throwing this shit garbage on the ground and not in a trash can could implement many other things somewhere else on the planet, right? I made this whole, check out my last episode, number 44. It's about living in these bubbles that we create, so we only think about our bubble. You can check out my other podcasts about tribe, about being part of a tribe, and, I think that you need to understand that there's this whole world out there and we're all affected with each other, especially how much people travel, and do things. So, you driving that badass whatever that might be smashing, you know, the ozone layer or whatever, or just terrible gases are released like that, that could be problematic, right? Some of these sweatshop big business things that you put down in Mexico because it's cheaper, that still could be problematic up here in Chicago, right? So I think maybe hopefully people's minds open a little bit more that we have one world that we're fucking lucky enough to have, and that if you treat it like shit, or we treat each other like shit, or we don't pay attention to the day-to-day stuff and know that we're all connected, that bad shit can happen and that can affect you, right? We don't understand about being clean, about the world, about what's going on. Ipso facto, Tom Hanks is in quarantine, right? And if it can get fucking Tom Hanks, it can get anybody. You know what I'm saying? But it's not just this coronavirus, right? I don't want to talk on that because this too shall pass. But the bigger issue here of panic about all kinds of shit, like I talked to earlier, people get scared of anything they don't understand, right? So it starts with, you know, different races, right? So back in the day, all white folks lived in urban areas, right? And then, you know, people of color started moving in, and then there was this thing called white flight. And if you live in a suburb now, you can thank white flight for that because everyone fucking dipped out, right? And because they're scared of the unknown, right? There was this thing called the Holocaust, right? People scared of the unknown. They don't know these kind of people or what they are, so da-da-da-da-da. Happened to Japanese folks here at home in World War II, right? Oh, you're Japanese. I don't know anything about anything, but I know that we're fighting Japan in the war, so you go into a work camp, right? Native Americans, you're savages, we don't know shit about your culture, we're going to take all your shit, right? Oh, trans person, I don't know anything about you or what you're going through, what you feel, I'm going to hit you in the head with a fucking brick. Oh, what's up, gay kid? I don't know anything about your life, what you're going through, and I don't know anything about gay folks at all, so let's go ahead and string you up like a fucking scarecrow, right? This is the kind of shit that happens. Oh, hey, what's up? Just cocksucking white masculinity male. I don't know anything about you or your life or anything, so you're a rapist, you're a sexist, and you're everyone's problem. This is how people think. We don't understand. Oh, what's up, Mr. Muslim? You probably were part of 9/11, right? It's so fucking stupid and so irritating. It just pisses me off, right? But this is how a lot of people think. Because they don't care to know. Why not know? Why not know more? We live in these bubbles, right? So what we don't understand, we freak out and we think it's not right and it can never be and it's my way or the highway because my bubble's all I know, all I see, and everything else is unknown, so I panic when it comes around, right? It's fucking crazy. Why do we want to live like this? Why would we choose to live like this? So it's like, I don't know, like why not learn about the things we don't know about? I always like propose this question, right? Like what's the worst that could happen? What's like the downside, right? What was the downside if we knew more about another culture? What's the downside if we knew more about another race, another religion, another part of the world? Right? Different foods, right? Different whatever. What's the downside? That we're better, we're smarter, we're more empathetic, we're more compassionate, we know more, we can speak more intelligently about certain topics, we can have a more open mind. Yeah, that sounds terrible, you know. And then it's like with this shit too. It's not just, you know, when it comes to the coronavirus, but it's also like all those things I just mentioned. The media would scare people with that too, right? You turn on the TV post 9/11, everything's about every Muslim person on the planet's going to fucking kill you, right? So all these things happen against Muslim folks because the media puts it out there, and it's not just the media, although they're terrible. Then there's peer pressure. Everything's shut down now because of the coronavirus. I'm guaranteeing not every place wants to shut down because that hurts them financially. However, there's peer pressure because every other business is. So if you don't now, you're a son of a bitch that's trying to kill people and you don't give a fuck about health, right? Is that true? Probably not. You know, just like anything else, it gets blown out of proportion, and then it leads to just more closed-mindedness, fear, irrational. Like, why do we want to live like this? If I want to live in a cultured place like Chicago, Illinois, why do I want to walk around scared or panicked or frightened because I see someone different? I think it's fucking cool. I think it's cool that we can all be different, that there is different cultures, that there is different types of people, that you can express how you are, that you can be who you are. That's fucking awesome. And everyone's an asshole on either side. If you're very one way and you don't like the other way, you're an asshole. I don't care how liberal or how live and let live you are, how conservative and uptight you are. If you think the other person's wrong or they shouldn't live that way, fuck you. Because who are you to say? The cool thing about the human experience is that we're allowed to experience things. So if you fucking relaxed a little bit, didn't panic, had that open mind, learned to try to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, maybe we'd be a lot better off, right? It's like, oh yeah, let's say I'm a, very liberal person. Maybe that conservative person isn't a fucking dickhead. Maybe I'd walk a mile in their shoes and I'm like, oh, you know what? We don't agree on some things, but we're actually very similar in other things, and that's something. Focusing on what we have in common. Again, we're all humans all together on this damn planet doing the damn thing. So let's all do our part to make sure this crazy shit doesn't happen. Let's stop living in fear. Let's stop panicking. Let's try to help each other. Let's try to learn. Let's use crazy events and let's try to make shit better. What's the worst that can happen? Ask yourself that question. What's the fucking worst that can happen? Why do we want to live in panic? Let's just chill out. Let's be rational. Don't let emotions run your fucking life. Your brain runs you. You run your brain. Make the fucking choice. Let's do this damn thing. Until next time, y'all, let's put it in the books.